If I can speak candidly for a moment, I feel like I have had a number of conversations over the past week or weekend that have really centered spirituality in a way that I have not centered spirituality in a long while. And I feel like that has brought up a lot of mixed emotions for me, especially because I thought that I finally had reached a point where I'd come to terms with the fact that many of my spiritual routines and many of those elements of spirituality that I held so close to my identity have disappeared in a lot of ways when I realistically look at my lifestyle now. And I think having these conversations over the last couple days have really caused me to rethink what spirituality is to me and what it truly means to me to be on a spiritual journey. I think for me, in a lot of ways, my spiritual journey has been synonymous with a healing journey that I have vaguely been on, I think, since middle school. And I say that because that is when I started to have a spiritual awakening. And for me, it meant that I was looking outside of the church and structured religion for answers. And at its very core, a deeper understanding of myself. And through learning about spirituality outside of structured religion, I started to realize how many aspects of myself were underappreciated, underacknowledged, undervalidated. And overall, there was just a lot about myself that I was refusing to learn about and connect with because of the way that I was introduced to spirituality. It has always been centered around not only healing myself, but also drawing greater connections to everything around me and how I fit into this big puzzle that we call life. And this is not to say that I haven't gone down many different avenues when it comes to spirituality, especially when it comes to manifestation or abundance. I think I've definitely explored my fair share of avenues, but at its core, I think I've always been very good at centering spirituality around love, period. I feel like I have centered so much of my spirituality around empathy and love for this very existence that at times I feel like I almost forget that the point of the spiritual journey isn't about what I do that validates the fact that I'm in this spiritual journey, but I'm leading myself to this point where I no longer need to feel tied to certain practices to feel connected. This is a little pop culture social media reference, but it's almost like that trend that says, I almost forgot that this was the whole point, right? Like, because in the beginning, I needed a certain set of rules for myself and I needed certain practices and things that I was doing to make me feel like I was on the right track. Now that I've evolved into this position where I have instilled so many of those ideologies and beliefs and actions that to me, it feels like I'm not even in a routine. It feels like I am just out here living life. And I truly believe that that is the whole point. Spirituality for me was a way to continue to grow and to continue to be well-intentioned in this world without feeling like I needed to rely on the church and I needed to rely on structured religion to keep me on the straight and narrow. And of course, I am not saying that I am this amazing person. You know, I am still allowed to do bad. I think that is a part of the learning process, the growing process, and I am also human, you know, but I do my very best to move through this world with good intentions, and I try to do my very best to, at a bare minimum, not harm others with my own beliefs and belief system, whether that be consciously or indirectly. And I think the funny thing is, as time has gone on, I feel like as I've grown, I have dropped so many of those practices that were really the catalyst to me being who I am today. Now that I'm here, I'm still grappling with this idea of whether or not I am stagnant or I am just living life. This is straight off the dome, by the way. So if you're following, amazing, thank you. And if this is a little confusing, that's okay. I'm confused too. We're all confused. I think outside of all of the things that have led me to the position that I'm in today and all of the ways spirituality has allowed me to grow, allowed me to see myself objectively and in this raw and filtered way, I feel like a part of me has still always been so skeptical to whether or not the things that I have been doing and the things that I do really mean anything. I put in the work and I see results. So, in that sense, you can conclude that yes, there is purpose to all of this. But at the same time, I feel like I have always still dealt with this level of fatigue and exhaustion. And whenever I lean into that, I, of course, start to doubt myself and whether or not the things that have come to me that I've manifested were already written, regardless of whether or not I did these practices or if I myself am the one in the driver's seat, truly steering myself in the direction that I'm going. And if I'm being truly honest, I feel like that is the position that I found myself in more recent years. And it wasn't until the conversations that I've been having this past week that have sort of stopped me in my tracks and really made me reassess the way that I am living life, I guess, right now, and whether or not I truly feel aligned with the ideology and the beliefs that I have adopted over the past couple of years. And I think one thing that has really sent me into this spiral is the fact that when I've been having these conversations, I have felt a deep yearning to get back to that space, because I feel like in these conversations, I speak from a point of reflection, not a point of current and future practices. And the person in which I'm communing with is speaking from this point of fully sitting in within their spirituality with full confidence and understanding. And I think if I were to go a little deeper, I feel like in both of these conversations, I've also felt a little insecure as well, because I think a part of me knows that as much as it is okay for me to just live my life and to enjoy the current moment and not feel like I need to be actively pushing towards something, whether that be spiritual, whether it be healing, whether it just be career, goals, achievements, whatever. I think me, myself as a person, is someone who really likes structure. So, what does this have to do with spirituality? Because I feel like I am all over the place right now. I think it would be a disservice to myself if I didn't acknowledge that the position that I'm currently in now, the life that I'm living, is something that I have been manifesting, asking for, and dreaming about for a long while. And I think it's interesting. Oh, I feel like I can cry right now. I think it's interesting that as I've, over the past couple of weeks, had that realization in really small and different ways. Just to give you some examples, I was walking with Dapo a couple days ago and we were just doing like a neighborhood walk, right? And I just remember looking out on the street and observing my environment and where I was and the type of plants that grow here, the way the sidewalk looks, the scenic views of the sound and the water, and just how beautiful of a space that we are currently living in, and just thinking about this younger version of myself. And we're talking like teens, we're talking about high school, elementary, and visiting other places away from my home, yearning to live in a space like the space that I'm living in now. I remember visiting Santa Cruz when I was younger and always envisioning myself in this seaside community and how the air smelled and how the road looked and how everything felt around me, and yearning for that. And it wasn't until I was walking a couple days ago with Dapo that I realized, like, wow, like this is not exactly what I imagined when I imagined it, but there are so many elements that I had asked for in that moment that are here in my current reality that at the time, I guess maybe I had a sense one day it might be mine, but in a lot of ways it was so far from my reality and who I was at that moment that it was simply just a dream. And I feel like I have had moments like that in small different ways for the last couple weeks, and to just like close out that realization, I have had the opportunity to have these amazing conversations with people who are well within their spiritual journey and just speaking more truth and life into this version of myself that still exists but heavily existed in the past, that did the work and put in the time to allow myself to grow into the space that I am in now. And I think something that I've noticed now that I am in this space is that I have been floating a little bit. And because I'm in new territory every single day, I feel like I've lost touch a little bit with how to conduct myself and what it is I need in this moment as I continue to push towards and strive for my goals, and I continue to expand upon this dream that I have dreamt for a long while. And I think one of the big conversations with me within that is what spirituality means to me now and what it looks like to be a spiritual person and a spiritual being living in her dream reality. Now that I'm living in this current moment, I'm also realizing that, like, wow, there's so much more I could expand upon within this dream. And so what does it look like for me to continue to grow while still being grateful for the space that I'm in, while still acknowledging that I've worked very hard to be here and I can enjoy it, while still feeling gratitude for even being given the opportunity to be in this space and to share about it. It's almost like I've hit a new baseline, and now that I am actively working to move from this baseline, I am not sure what to take with me as I continue this journey and when it's time to learn something new and do exactly what I did last time, which is forge new tools and create new solutions. Yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to share. I guess this is a little update on my spiritual journey. I know on this channel I every once in a while would pop in and have some type of discussion about my spirituality and where I'm at in my life. And I feel like I haven't been doing that because I've been so confused about where I'm at and stuck in this position of wanting to enjoy my current life and what I'm doing without feeling the pressure to have it mean something. But at the same time, knowing eventually that I will have a moment like this where I kind of snap in and in a lot of ways refocus. And so I feel like I have just hit that point right now, and it feels aligned with a lot of things going on in my life. I am truly so happy with where I'm at. Of course, there are still frustrations in the world. I think my goal is never to be 100% sound. I feel like polarity is important, and I love that I'm able to contrast these amazing feelings with the tragedy that I feel with what's going on in the world and the amount of suffering that exists around me. I always, always, always love to keep myself receptive and open within my spiritual journey. And I think that is because I truly do try to lead with love. But when it comes to myself and assessing where I'm at inside, I think something that is unique about this baseline is I am happy. I am happy at this baseline. And now that I am happy, I am learning how to continue to expand and to continue to grow and connect. I think that's another important aspect of this stage, maybe in my spiritual journey. It's learning how to connect with others. Instead of constantly focusing on fixing myself and what's wrong with me, I am actively trying to mend. I've found myself in a lot of positions where I am mending connections with my family, mending connections with friends, and also creating connections with new community, new people, and really just leaning into this idea of interdependence with the world around me. I feel like I said a lot there. In fact, I know that I said a lot, but in a lot of ways, I feel like there was really no other way to say it. If you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Sydney Rain, and we just live in life over here. I hate to say it, but I have been so inconsistent on this page, and I am not promising consistency, but I feel like as I move from this new baseline, I am rewriting the script and I am reprioritizing the things that I'm doing and what I value. And since making this YouTube account however many years ago, I truly feel like this has been an amazing space for me to grow and to connect. So I have no idea what this next chapter is going to look like for me, but hopefully I can continue to be a consistent voice on here and share it, because I don't know about you, but I feel like I learn a lot about myself through learning about other people. And I enjoy hearing other people talk about themselves and what they're going through in their life. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I like to do it on here. You know, something I like it, so I do it, you know? But yeah, anyways, I am looking forward to potentially sharing a little more about this spiritual journey with y'all on this page again, and really tapping into these aspects of myself that I love. So with that, I think I'm going to close out this video, but if you're interested in seeing more from me, please check out my page, and don't forget to like this video and also subscribe if you feel called to. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy healing. All right, bye y'all.